things are gonna get a little intense. I want to throw this book. I hope this one makes me feel good. I hope there's a happy ending. Let's see what you guys have decided. Hi everyone, it's me. Welcome to today's video. We are going to be doing a little bit of a readathon with a twist because you are going to control my readathon. We are going to be reading for 24 hours in today's vlog, but unlike the several previous 24-hour readathons that we've done on this channel, we are going to be actually doing the timer method today instead of just doing the cram as many books as you can within a 24-hour clock time span. We are going to do the timer method so we get a full 24 hours of reading in today's video, and also I've got things to do. I've been wanting to do another 24-hour readathon, but I just have a lot of work and events and things to go to, so we are gonna do the timer method. And unbeknownst to you guys, you have actually secretly been choosing my reads for this readathon. I posted a few cryptic stories on Instagram where I didn't really explain what I was doing, but I just posted photos of 2 books each with polls for you guys to vote on. So I mean, it wasn't that cryptic because you could see what books you were voting for. You probably knew that you were voting for books for me to read in some capacity, but I didn't tell you that it was for a 24-hour readathon. It's actually 4:10 p.m. right now, so day 1 is, over, essentially. It's basically bedtime. But I did want to pick up our first book for this readathon, and so for our first poll I did include 2 books that are currently on the September TBR still, so obviously I want to prioritize these reads. Our first matchup is The Gilded Cage by Lynette Noni versus Where the Library Hides by Isabel Ibanez, 2 continuations of series, so I thought these would be really good matched up in a poll. I posted this one on Instagram a couple hours ago, so let's go over and see what the results are. Okay. Yep, as I suspected, you guys voted for The Gilded Cage. I feel like I could see that happening because I know that some of you do love this duology, have read it, and want to see what I think about it, but I do think overall The Prison Healer is just more well-known and more popular out there, so it makes sense that you'd want me to read this one. So this is the second book in a YA series, the Prison Healer series. It's a fantasy. I did enjoy the first book. We follow Kiva, who's in prison, but she also works in the prison as the healer. She is tasked with healing this rebel that has been caught because they want this rebel to go through a series of trials to determine her fate, essentially. So that's where the trajectory of the first book went. We did have a couple of twists and turns throughout the book, especially at the end, so I can't wait. Let's dive back into the Prison Healer world. I'm excited for this one. Alright guys, it's already 2 p.m. today. Oops. I haven't read it all today, but it's because I've been spending all morning editing our next podcast episode. So I've been busy at work, but yesterday I did manage to read about 4 hours, and that's actually more reading than I expected that I'd be able to do yesterday since we started this readathon pretty much at the end of the workday. But yeah, read for almost 4 hours yesterday, and so I am kind of in the last third of this book. I have been devouring this. I've been having a lot of fun with it. I do think that this sequel is miles better than the first book. Just the level of writing I think is so improved in this one. You can definitely see the maturity in her writing style and even her storytelling, the pacing of it all, the depth of the characters. I think we're getting a lot more in this one as well, and I am absolutely loving it. I am eating it up. I feel so attached to these characters at this point that I am actually a little bit scared to continue reading this because the way the story is going, things are gonna get a little intense, and I'm scared for who will get hurt in the aftermath of the events that are going to happen in this book. Also, because I am getting to the end portion of this book, I know that things are about to blow up, and yeah, I'm scared because I think Lynette Noni has been really, really good at building the tension in this book without saying too much. Our main character is kind of in this middle place where she is torn on what to do, and she's gonna have to decide soon, and there's gonna be some consequences either way. Whatever she decides to do, there's gonna be some good and there's gonna be some bad, and I am scared. I have been actually this is one of those books where you're reading and you just want to scream at the main character. I've been screaming at Kiva throughout this entire book so far, but not in a bad way, because I think her sort of indecision and her sort of like bumbling back and forth in this one makes sense. I know when you're watching a protagonist make horrible decisions, it can be really frustrating to read, but in this book, I do think it makes sense because of her history, what she's gone through. Her indecision seems genuine and it's coming from a real place. So I'm not frustrated at her as in like I don't like her character, but I'm frustrated at her, yeah, in the sense where I'm like, oh my god, don't do that, because I can like, I mean, I think I can see the bigger picture of what's gonna happen, but who knows, because Lynette Noni did throw a twist in the first book, so wouldn't be surprised if we get another twist at the end of this one. But yeah, there's just a lot more inner tension in this one. We are getting a little bit more about the politics in this world. It's definitely not too complex. It still is a YA fantasy series, so everything does feel very simple, easy to understand. There's not like too much to keep track of, but tensions are definitely high, and I am feeling so attached to these characters. If anything happens to anyone, I'm gonna be so sad. But yeah, I've just finished all of my podcast work for today, so we shall start reading again for the day. But I also just wanted to quickly talk about my fun face mask that I think you guys saw me wearing yesterday in the evening while I was reading, because that's kind of my evening routine now, is to, you know, have a little bit of self-care, take care of my face, and then also read. So I have been using this FAQ LED mask from the brand Foreo, and I would like to thank Foreo for sponsoring this portion of the video, but I've been using this mask for about 2 months at this point, and I am absolutely loving it. I have always been one to be very low maintenance. I know a lot of you have asked me for like my skincare routine, but at the end of the day, I've always been a low maintenance girly. I don't really like do that much, but using this mask has become such an easy way to integrate some skincare, some self-care into my routine. So as you can see, this face mask is made out of silicone. We have 8 different wavelengths that include NIR, and these help tackle signs of aging and other skin concerns. The mask itself is really, really lightweight. It's also wireless, and yeah, it's made with this flexible silicone molding, so it can fit any face shape, and it's very comfortable to use. There are a lot of benefits to using this mask. So this can re-strengthen different layers of your skin. It can boost your skin's natural healing processes, and I have definitely personally felt my skin feeling a lot smoother and also a lot less dull looking. It can also help reduce wrinkles, fine lines, and it'll just even out your skin tone with less sunspots, which is something that I have noticed with my skin. So you can use this mask on its own, but you can also connect it to your phone using the app. And the app is amazing because you can see all your device info. You have like how to use instructions on there. And what I've been using the app a lot is the treatments section. So these are all different treatments that combine different LED wavelengths to suit whatever skincare needs that you want to bring more attention to. There is oil balancing, which is actually the one that I've been using. So I've been doing this maybe like 5 days a week. And yeah, it's just a nice way to wind down. I do it while I'm reading a book, and I've absolutely been loving it. So if you are curious and you do want to check out the FAQ 202 mask from Foreo, as well as any other of Foreo's best sellers, click the link in my description box. You can also use the code FOK30 to get an additional 30% off almost all of their products. And this discount will actually work on top of any other products that are already on sale, so it's just like an extra added 30% off bonus. Thank you Foreo again for sponsoring this video. Let's continue our Gilded Cage journey. Distressed. I kind of just want to jump into the third book like immediately, but we kind of have a plan for this readathon, so I can't jump directly into what is the third one called, the Blood Trader, but I want to throw this book. I am so amped up by this. The thing is, I feel like the trajectory of this book was very clear. It was very obvious. It followed, you know, a YA romantasy blueprint, and like I knew in my heart, I knew what was going to happen, but like the way it happened still surprised me, if that makes sense. Like I could see the bigger picture of where the series is gonna go and sort of like the main events that were gonna happen. But yeah, I was still surprised at the way we got there. Definitely got a little pissed off at Kiva by the end there. I know I was saying that she was making horrible decisions, but it made sense. But after a while, like near the end of the book, I was like, okay, I can't make any excuses for her anymore. This was a wonderful sequel. I had so much fun reading this. Definitely, as I said, miles better than the first book. The writing is just vastly improved. I can't remember the specific issues I had with the first book, but I think there were just some, maybe the dialogue felt off in the first book. I can't remember, but I had literally no issues with the writing in this one. This was wonderful. It was so much fun. It took me on a ride. I'm gonna give it, ooh, what did I rate the first book? Like a 4-star? I think I'm gonna give this like a 4.25. I had a lot of fun reading this. Okay. Let's pick up our next read though for this readathon. By the way, we are at 1846 remaining. So math, what is that? We've read just over 5 hours. I'm actually feeling a little bit more fiction, either contemporary or literary right now, just because I have been reading a lot of fantasies. I think I've read, including the Gilded Cage, I think I've read like 5 or 6 fantasies in a row now, which is wonderful, but I need a bit of a mood switch at this point. So these are the 2 books that I am kind of interested in reading next. The Other Side of Now by Paige Harbison, which I think is some sort of a second chance fiction with a little bit of magical realism, and The Names by Florence Knapp, which I think I've described a couple times on this channel, so that is a literary fiction. Let's see what you guys have decided for me. That is a very close poll. 51% to 49% is really, really, really dang close, but you guys actually chose The Other Side of Now for me to read, which I'm happy about because I have been curious about this one. I feel like I've been curious about The Names a little longer, so I kind of wanted to read this actually, but you guys are controlling this readathon. So we're gonna pick up The Other Side of Now. This says 2 lives, 1 chance to get it right. Let's read the synopsis together. With a leading role in a hit TV show and a relationship with Hollywood's latest heartthrob, Meg Bryan, that's kind of a funny pun. Okay. Appears to have everything she ever wanted, but underneath her happiness is as fake as her stage name, Lana Lord. Following a tiny nervous breakdown at her 30th birthday party, she books an impromptu trip to Ireland, specifically to the village where she and her late best friend Amy always dreamed of moving. When Meg arrives, the people in town don't just recognize her, they seem to know her. She quickly, reluctantly, realizes that she has somehow slipped into an alternate reality, one where she did move to Ireland as a teenager, one where she never got famous, and most shockingly of all, one where Amy is alive and well. She just wants nothing to do with Meg. Despite her bewilderment, Meg is clear-eyed about one thing. This is a once-in-2 lifetimes chance to reconnect with her friend and repair what she broke, or risk losing Amy all over again. So yeah, it's a second chance. We will be discussing grief a little bit in this book as well, and I hope this one makes me feel good. I hope there's a happy ending. There must be, right? Like, it looks like this. 1 chance to get it right. You're gonna get it right. Book 2, let's go. Okay, we are at the 15-hour mark, and I have read 250 pages of this book. We have 100 pages left, and I'm not sure about it. I'm not sure, but I don't know if I love it. We'll start out with the good. So I think there are some really, really good themes that are explored in this book. Grief, for one, of course, like grieving the loss of your best friend, and just themes of like finding yourself and what you really need to be happy, what it's like to see 2 sides of you, like 2 possibilities, and to figure out like what you truly want in life. I think I'm really enjoying those aspects of this book. Also just like friendship in general, I think is depicted very well in here. I don't know about the execution. I don't know if I love the writing. I just think that for a short book, okay, this book is only 350 pages. At the 250 page mark at this point, not much has happened. And so I'm a little worried at the pacing because I'm like, in a short book, if you're at page 250 and like not too much has happened, then like, where are we gonna go with this? this? How far can we get in this in the last 100 pages? So I'm having troubles with the pacing. We are, though, even though there's not much happening in the plot itself, we are getting a lot of inner thoughts. Like, this is definitely an inner monologue type of a book, which in theory should work very well for a book with this premise. However, I'm not really enjoying the inner monologue. I think a lot of it is very rambly. Our main character in her original life is an actress, so a lot of her inner thoughts are just kind of like weirdly name dropping people. She'll start listing out celebrities, let's say, that she gets compared to, but instead of saying just 1 or 2 celebrities, she'll mention like 6 different celebrities. Like, you know, she won't just stop at Jennifer Lawrence and Emma Stone, but she'll go on to like Sydney Sweeney and like Saoirse Ronan and just like list all these people. And similarly, there are times when she's reminiscing about like her past self, reminiscing on her teenage years, and she will list out like movies she's watched. But again, instead of listing just like 1 or 2 significant movies that really like impacted her, she will list like 10 movies. That's an exaggeration. She will list out like 5 or 6 movies. To me, it just feels like we're lingering on these things for a reason, but we don't have to linger so long on them. So there are definitely some pacing issues, but let's read the last 100 pages and see like where the end of this book, hopefully the ending of this book really makes it. Fine. Fine, this was cute. I liked the ending. I actually really liked the direction that the story took at the end. The first like 75% of this book to me was very predictable, but the ending could have gone really like one of 2 ways, and I actually prefer the way it went in. I was kind of scared it was gonna go in the other direction, but I do really love how the story ended, so that's good. Also, my bad, I was saying this was a 350 page book. It's actually a 302 page book, so it's even shorter. I don't know, it was cute. The messaging, the elements in this book were really wonderful. We got a lot of healing and growth with our main character, Meg. And I also will say, I was saying that I was really not enjoying the writing. I do think it improved by the end of the book. And now that I'm thinking about it, I'm wondering if that was actually a conscious choice made by Paige Harbison as the author, because as we were going through this growth with Meg as our protagonist, her inner thoughts were also feeling just more nuanced by the end of it, and that also, you know, that paralleled her emotional growth through the story. So maybe that actually worked. Maybe it was intentional, but the first bit of the book, like the first half of the book, was definitely a little bit tough for me to read because I was getting really frustrated with all those name drops and lists of people, celebrities and things. But yeah, I do really appreciate where we ended up. So I think I'm gonna give this maybe a 3.5. I've been all over the spectrum with this one. Some books I feel like I have just such a consistent rating with them. Like as I was reading The Gilded Cage, for example, that book was like a 4.25 the entire way through. But something like this, I definitely go through ups and downs. Like at the beginning, I was like, this is like a 2-star or a 2.5 star. And then it improved to a 3. And by the end, I think it's a 3.5. So that's definitely a good thing. It's better than when a book starts out so good and then ends up disappointing you at the end. So we love some growth. We are at the we're still actually pretty close to the 15-hour mark. We're at 14:51 remaining in this readathon. And our second book is done. Let's move over because our next 2 books, the 2 books that I chose for our next read, number 1, Alchemy of Secrets by Stephanie Garber, and number 2, Hemlock and Silver by Kingfisher. Now, obviously, I'm so excited for Alchemy of Secrets because it's a new release. I love Stephanie Garber. I'm also so curious to see how she writes outside of that Caraval and Once Upon a Broken Heart universe, because this is her first book outside of that universe and also her first adult novel. So really excited about that. And then Hemlock and Silver, I'm really excited about because I've wanted to read Kingfisher for so long and I just haven't ever had the opportunity to pick up one of her books, but Hemlock and Silver was a book of the month pick for this month. So definitely had to grab that. But I posted this Instagram poll yesterday. So let's see what you guys have decided. Okay, wow. There was no competition there. You guys really want me to read Alchemy of Secrets. So no Tea Kingfisher yet, unfortunately, but I'm so excited for this. Let's just put this one back onto the TBR. Okay. Alchemy of Secrets. This is an adult standalone, and we're set in LA, I believe. We follow Holland, who is a professor that teaches a class called Local Legends and Urban Myths, and she's always been convinced that magic is real. She tracks down a local legend named the Watchman, who can supposedly tell you when you'll die. Okay, the world finally makes sense, except that the Watchman tells her she will die at midnight tomorrow unless she can find an ancient object called the alchemical heart. With the clock ticking, Holland is pulled deeper into this magical world in the heart of Los Angeles and into the path of a magnetic stranger. Everything about him feels like a bad idea, but he promises Holland that her sister sent him to protect her. As they chase clues and stories that take them closer to the alchemical heart, Holland realizes everyone in this intoxicating new world is lying to her, even this stranger. And if she can't figure out whom to trust, not even the alchemical heart will save her. Okay, so it does sound like we kind of get whisked away into this other world. I don't know if this other world is like still in LA, like just a magical enhanced version of LA, or if it's like she physically goes to another world. But okay, I love the premise. I love that we're on the quest for a magical object. I love that we have like a time constraint. We only have one day. We only have till tomorrow to figure it out. And we have a lot of mystery and intrigue. So let's get into Alchemy of Secrets. Oh my goodness, I'm so excited. Why is the opening of this book reminding me of the opening of The Night Circus? It's like that second person POV where you are like discovering this place and you're entering it and just like observing everything around you. This is giving Night Circus so far, and that is a wonderful thing. Oh, sorry, Holland is not the professor. The professor is a mysterious woman. Holland is a girl that takes the professor's class. A little clarification there. But I think everything else in that synopsis still stands. I am loving this so far. I am loving this so far. It's actually feeling quite mystery thriller, like magical mystery thriller, which is really fun. And it's keeping me really engaged in it. And I just missed Stephanie Garber's writing so much. I haven't read a book from her since what was it? The Curse for, oh my gosh. What is that book called? A Curse for True Love, the third book in the Once Upon a Broken Heart series. I have not read a book from her since then. I mean, actually, no, that's a lie. I read Spectacular last year, her little novella, but like, you know what I mean. I just haven't been able to dive into her whimsical world, her writing in so long, and I'm so happy to be back. You know when you haven't read an author for a while and you don't forget, but you kind of like lose touch as to why you specifically really love that author? This is definitely bringing me back. Her writing is so descriptive. The way she immediately sets the mood is incredible, and I am really liking how this definitely feels different, very different compared to her Once Upon a Broken Heart and Caraval world, but at the same time you can still tell it's Stephanie Garber. As I mentioned, we open this book with a Night Circus-y feeling type of an opening chapter where you are in second person POV and you as the reader are stepping into like this class and sort of diving straight into the unknown. We then do jump over to our protagonist's point of view and begin her story, but then maybe not every single alternating chapter, but every few chapters we will dive back into that second person POV perspective, and in those perspectives, like that's where we kind of learn all of the lore, all of kind of the myths in this world that help guide where our present day story is going. So it's just so fun so far. I just think I'm gonna devour this in one more sitting this evening. Also, you may have noticed I am wearing a different shirt. I did go out to get ice cream and donuts with my friend Linda, and I just came back and changed into, I don't know, comfy clothes. I always wear comfy clothes, but now I'm wearing even comfier clothes. I'm gonna plop myself down and continue reading this book because it's so good. Also, just the order of how things are being revealed to us as the reader are impeccable, are delicious. And my air conditioning just turned on, which is always a sign that my house is telling me to stop yapping because I've talked for long enough. So we're gonna keep reading. It's actually been a little while since we last caught up because yesterday I actually celebrated my wedding anniversary, my 2-year wedding anniversary. So we went apple picking. It was a wonderful time, but I just kind of took the entire day off filming just to, you know, have a little day to myself to celebrate and feel cozy and all the things. But I did still read a little bit yesterday. So we are now down to 7 hours and 47 minutes remaining in this readathon. This is most definitely the most relaxed readathon I've ever done. Usually I try and do these 24-hour readathons in one day, but if not, like the previous times I've done the timer method, I've usually like spread it out between like 2 to 3 days, but we're just chilling this time around. But we are still reading quite a bit because I think with the pace we're going, we're still on track to read like almost 5 books in 5 days, I would say, by the end of this readathon. So we're still definitely reading a lot. But I did finish reading Alchemy of Secrets by Stephanie Garber. I devoured this. It was such a quick, easy read. My final rating for this one is a 4-star. I don't think it was the perfect book. I don't think it gave me 5-star feelings, but it was just still such a wonderful, wonderful read. I think what kind of threw me off was that our protagonist really felt YA, which I was a little confused about because I know like this is Stephanie Garber's adult fantasy debut. So I was really curious and looking forward to see what her adult voice sounded like. But I'm gonna be completely honest. Our main character POV in this felt very reminiscent of like Scarlet and Caraval. There were a lot of similarities, I think, with their characters and how they decided things and how they navigated through these like games or mysteries or challenges or whatever. It felt very Caraval-esque. And I think the age of our character in this is technically a little bit older, but the way her mind worked still felt like a YA character. So I don't really know why they decided to brand this as like an adult fantasy, because in my opinion it's quite YA. I don't know. If you feel a different way and felt that this really truly felt like an adult book, let me know why, because maybe I'm missing something. To me, this felt like just classic Stephanie Garber, but set in this wonderful like old Hollywood feeling environment, and I really, really liked the Hollywood of it all. I think she really captured that essence well, but I enjoyed it. I do think Holland kind of annoyed me at points, like the decisions she was making and mostly just her indecisiveness, which, to be fair, I feel like would be quite realistic in the situation that she was thrown in this book, but she did get a little tiny bit frustrating for me to read near the end of this book. But that being said, I still absolutely loved it. It was a 4-star for me, and I did start my next book after that. So I put up another poll, of course, and for this readathon, I've really been sort of going from magic to real world to magic to real world. So we just read a magical book. I decided I wanted a contemporary or literary fiction next. So the 2 books in my next poll were The Academy by Elin Hilderbrand and her daughter Shelby Cunningham. I was definitely really excited to see this as a book of the month pick. Obviously, I do love Elin Hilderbrand overall as an author, but this book is her first book that she has co-written with her daughter, and I just felt that was so cute. I honestly don't know too much of the plot, but I do know it is set in an academic setting, of course, so I thought this would be a really good September read, but you guys did not vote for this one. The results of this poll were overwhelmingly in favor of Anxious People by Fredrik Backman, which of course I'm not mad about at all because I've been wanting to dive back into a Fredrik Backman book. I did start this yesterday and I actually read half of this yesterday. I've been obviously devouring this one as well. This one is a very comedic fake book. Fredrik Backman can go really one of two ways. He can either be really, really funny, or he can either really, really make you sad and cry, or he can do a little middle ground and be really funny while making you cry at the same time, which I think is usually the case. This one I think definitely leans toward funny, although I can see the hints of the emotions going deeper and stuff, and I'm wondering if this book will make me cry, because Fredrik Backman usually does, but so far reading this book I have been laughing. But this premise is wild, okay? We start this book off with a bank robbery. So we're following our bank robber as he goes in to rob a bank. That, for multiple reasons, ends up going very, very wrong. So he ends up fleeing, running across the street and into an apartment complex to hide from the police. He runs into an open apartment to hide in and realizes that that apartment is open because there's currently an open house happening in there. So there is a real estate agent in there and also 7 prospective buyers that were just kind of touring the apartment. So now we've turned a bank robbery into a hostage situation. And then we just sort of follow the story, jumping back and forth as these 2 cops investigate what really happened. But also at the same time, we're getting to know all of these witnesses as we interview them. So definitely lots of character work in this book, which is for me something very expected in a Fredrik Backman book. He knows humans so well. So yeah, lots of character study, character development work in here. But also just like the best sense of humor. Like, it's just so goofy. I was kind of taken aback at the beginning of this book because of how goofy and bizarre the tone of it felt, which I don't know why I was surprised, because I've read like A Man Called Ove, I've read My Friends, I know he can have this really goofy side to him, but this one I think is probably his goofiest of all of his books. Just like the way these witnesses were talking to the cops, not respecting them really, and just joking around with them and putting them down. I was like, this feels so absurd and not believable. But once you kind of just get into the style of it and accept that that's just this creative alternate universe that Fredrik Backman has created, it's very, very enjoyable. So I'm definitely liking this so far. Fredrik Backman is always just a master of storytelling in the way he decides to reveal little things to you and the order he decides to reveal little things to you. So I'm fully on this journey. I'm enjoying getting to know our witnesses. I feel like every single character in this book feels so different and just represents a whole other side of what it is to live the human experience, but in a way that makes me literally laugh out loud. Gonna continue reading. It does look like today is a gloomier, rainier day. It's the perfect day to sit down and hopefully finish this readathon today. We have a lot of hours to read, but hopefully we can do it. I think we can do it. Literally turned on my camera to film myself reading the end of this book, and then it turns out I never even hit record. So that's unfortunate. I did definitely get a little bit teary at the end of this book. I didn't like full on cry the same way as I did with his other books, but he does wrap it all around, like, you know, and gets deep in the feelings. Like, just like his signature, how he brings everything together. What a good book. I will say, this one definitely was a slow burner for me, like a slow grower. I wasn't 100% in love with it at the beginning. I was honestly thinking like, oh, is this going to be my first Fredrik Backman book that is like under a 4.5 star? But as you keep reading, it just all comes together so wonderfully. I think this has to be a 5 star. I think it has to be. There were so many like plot twists in this, and the way he does it, because there's something about his writing, and he does this in all of his books, but he sort of deceives you. He either withholds information or like phrases things in certain ways to throw you off, and usually in his books it is to create suspense and to create more like emotional emotional impact when he does turn it around and like surprise you at the end with like the point he's trying to make. But in this one, he used that trick, that sort of like deceiving writing to create these plot twists, which is something I haven't really seen him do, because the like main point of this book, it's definitely much more of like a mystery centric book than his other ones are. So that like style of writing where he kind of like loops around and around and does things to distract you on purpose, instead of using that for like emotional gain, like, or emotional impact, he uses it for plot twists and like trickery in this one, which is really fun. He also does use it for his like usual emotional impact moments, but it was fun seeing the way he wrote a story like this. I am actually really curious to see how they adapt this book, because I think I saw an announcement recently that this book is being adapted into a film, I believe, and they announced the cast for it, which I didn't really pay attention to the cast announcement when I like first kind of like skimmed by it on social media, but I might need to look into that again, because now that I've read this book, I feel like I'm going to be a lot more invested in the making of the movie. But I am just wondering how the heck they're going to adapt this successfully, because so much of Fredrik Backman's stories, like his stories are so good, but a lot of it has to do with the way he writes it and the way he phrases things. Really, like that is where the treasure in his books lie. But I don't know, I'm kind of worried, because I'm like, how are they going to capture his nuance? Like, how are they going to capture his style in film? And to be fair, I still haven't watched the Man Called Ove adaptations. I haven't watched either one. Like this, I know there's a Swedish one and an American one. I haven't watched either, so I don't know how those ones are. I've heard at least the Swedish one is a pretty good adaptation, but I could see that one being easier to adapt, that story. This one, I truly don't know, like also how they're gonna do that whole like deceiving thing and withholding information to twist it around at the end and surprise you. I don't know how they're gonna manage that in a film format, but definitely curious. Whoever's adapting this one to screen has a big challenge coming up for them. Anyways, yeah, 5-star. That was wonderful. I loved learning about all of these characters and how they all surprised me. This is kind of a satisfying moment. I paused the timer after I finished reading this book, and it's at exactly 6 hours remaining to the millisecond. I feel like that is so rare to stop a timer and have it like not even like milliseconds off. Just like a perfectly well-rounded number. I love that for us. What a moment. We are, of course, following our magical world, non-magical world, magical world, non-magical world pattern. And so for our next read, we are going back into like magic or fantasy or sci-fi. Let's see what you chose for me. I had a little bit of like a hee evil moment with this one, because I don't know how you guys are gonna choose. I really genuinely don't know which way this poll is going to go, because I just don't know how you would choose between one of these. But Warbreaker by Brandon Sanderson or Golden Sun by Pierce Brown. Let's check the polls. I put this up a few hours ago, so it's had a little bit of time to cook. Ooh. That was a pretty close one. So 47% voted for Warbreaker and 53% voted for Golden Sun. So we're gonna read Golden Sun, which is great because that will mean we are continuing another series. But also, I kind of wanted Warbreaker to win just because it's on my September TBR, so like I need to read it this month, and it would have been good to tackle that in this reading vlog. But it does look like Golden Sun will be the winner. We'll just have to read Warbreaker in our own time outside of a reading vlog. I'm excited to hopefully change my mind about this series and start falling in love with it the way so many of you guys love it. I can't fathom how I will ever love Darrow, so I think I just need to get over the fact that I'm not gonna like Darrow. Maybe he'll convince me as the series goes on, but maybe I feel like I just have to let go of that and be like, okay, I'm not gonna love him, but I just need to read what's going on in the story in the world outside of him, even though he's the protagonist. I also hope this one isn't as boring for me as the first one. The thing is, I love Pierce Brown's writing. I love his writing. I think the first 100 pages of Red Rising were absolutely incredible, like gripped me immediately, but then he lost me as the like Hunger Games style plot unfolded. I've heard this one takes a whole other turn and the plot feels very different as well, so I don't know. Let's get into this one. I don't know if I'll be able to read this book in 6 hours because it's the type of book that I want to read slower and really pay attention to everything that's happening. So we're gonna take our time with this one. Hopefully we'll finish it in the 6 hours so we can finish it in this reading vlog, but if not, we'll just read as much as we can. I did actually manage to read for, what was it, like 7 hours and 47 minutes yesterday in total, which is great because we were done this readathon. So my thoughts on this so far, I am not 2/3 done, but like close to 2/3. But so far, okay, I am enjoying this much more than I was enjoying Red Rising. So you guys were right, the second book is miles better. What I was surprised about is the time jump in this one. Whenever I'm reading a series, it's like I'm never sure if the second book is gonna pick up at like exactly where the first book left off, or if we're gonna have to fill in some gaps. There was a 2-year gap between this one and Red Rising, so we jumped into Darrow's POV as a very different feeling character, which I actually enjoyed. I think after the 2 years since Red Rising, Darrow's, I don't know, he's just like settled more into his role. He definitely still has some similar traits that he had in the first book, but it all makes so much more sense now, and I can understand his intentions and thoughts and everything a lot more. So that's a good thing. I'm also really enjoying the trajectory of the story a lot more than the first one. As I've been saying, the first one really just felt like one big Hunger Games that dragged on for far too long, and that Hunger Games felt really, really repetitive as we were just like going from house to house. This one definitely has a lot more variance in the plot, and so I'm a lot more interested overall. There is definitely a lot more political scheming where I think it just feels less made up. I think I had issues with the first one because it all just felt like a simulation that we were in. Like obviously it was definitely still high stakes, but it just kind of felt like we were playing, or like it was all just like fake, like we had such a limited scope on the world. But in this one we are getting just like more into real world politics, real world scheming, and getting into real world battles, and I'm enjoying that a lot more. I'm also kind of just like loving every single character a lot more in here. Obviously now we've spent more time with everyone, but in Red Rising it was definitely the secondary characters that were the stars for me because I hated Darrow. But even in this book, now that I'm like feeling okay with Darrow, it's still the secondary characters that are really impacting me, that I truly, truly care for, and they are just wonderful in this book. I love them so much. I hate some of them and I love some of them, but they all make for such a good immersive read where you feel so attached to what's happening. So I am enjoying this, but there's something in my brain that is blocking me from loving a space war book, which is so interesting because on one hand, I love space books. After reading Atmosphere this year, after reading Project Hail Mary very recently, I've realized I really do like that space setting, but I think I like space books more for the science and more for the psychology, like what it really takes like in your mind and your character to feel that isolation that you feel when you're in space. And like that is not the focus of this book, clearly, because it's more of like a space like political war book. And then also on the war side, like I love a fantasy war book. Like I love it. I love seeing the politics. I love seeing the plotting. I love seeing the like maneuvering of like, I don't know, getting allies and putting plans into place and like safeguards and whatever. Like I love, love, love that. And even in fantasy war books, like I like seeing the actual battle as well. Like once we've built up to that point, I feel like those battles are so intense, but for some reason there's something about a space war that I just like don't have any interest in. So I'm really, really loving the scheming and the planning and the like tricking of other people. But in all the moments where we're actually getting into like battle, where we have like spaceships crashing into each other and shooting each other and stuff, like I just lose interest. And that's definitely a preference thing. There's just, I don't know, there's something about the mood or aesthetic of a space war that I just don't enjoy reading. So every time a battle begins, I feel myself starting to get bored, and then I feel bored until a character I care about is in like a very high stakes, a very dangerous situation, and then I like zone back in because I'm like, oh my goodness, what's gonna happen to them? But yeah, there's just something about the aesthetics of a space war that I do not enjoy, and that is definitely not Pierce Brown's fault. That is just a personal preference thing. But overall, like this is definitely like somewhere between a 4 to 5 star read at this point. Definitely really, really, really enjoying this. So thank you for encouraging me and convincing me to continue on in this series. That being said, I am going to continue reading this, but I guess off camera because this challenge is over. Not to fret though, I will give you my final thoughts on Golden Sun, of course, in my end of the month wrap up as I usually do, so just look out for that. And we also definitely took our time with this readathon. It's been like 5 days, I think, since we started this readathon, but we still have been reading a ton because this is what we've read in the past 5 days. Almost 5 books in 5 days. I think that is pretty dang good. So successful readathon overall. Thank you guys so much for helping me choose what books to read during this readathon. I think this was so fun. If you liked seeing a video like this and want to see me do more readathons where you guys help choose for me, let me know and maybe we can do this again. But that being said, if you did enjoy this video, please leave me a like and a comment. If you don't know what to comment down below, let me know what you are currently reading. If you like me, subscribe, do that bell thing, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!